DRSNW, small x, small p, big L, small q, big U. It's like a vision test.
Oh, son of a pig.
What's the login for?
Same as your one you pass. Exact. Same you use for email, for example. I have changed anymore, so I'm not changing. I got my new password.
Oh, okay.
Like your email address.
So I'm just gonna put in my regular sign in?
Exactly.
Do we answer that last question on here, or is that till the end? Or?
Yeah, the other ones you can answer if you want right away, but it's that last one that I wanna wait till you guys see my presentation and then answer it. So is this everyone? Okay. Let's give you another minute to answer that. Okay, so my name is Mr. Qasim, Saeed Qasim Hamida is my full name. I'm the Spanish and French teacher here. And the reason I'm coming to you guys today with this presentation about Google for Education is because I'm in the process of getting certified to be what's called a Google Certified Educator. And I've just been learning a lot about what you can do with the entire system of products and tools and apps that are very useful to us. So I was inspired. I put together this presentation a couple days ago, and I hope you guys can gain some use from it. So the first thing that's important to know is that Google for Education is not just a collection of bells and whistles to enhance learning. It's a platform that brings apps, products, conversations, and files together to serve your daily needs and the needs of your students. So this is sort of a big picture presentation. We're not going to look at any particular app until next month. We might look at some specific tools that are useful to math educators. By the way, I used to work for Wolfram Alpha, so I just thought I'd throw that out there since you guys are into math. I did some PR for them back in the day. So I'm just generally inclined to love technology, and I'm always searching for things, and we'll research what you guys might be interested in. But today it's going to be more about the system and setting up a good digital backbone to make everything work just sort of seamlessly in your class. But first, I got to convince you to do it. After all, there is some upfront investment in time, not just for yourself, but for your students. You got to get your students to become comfortable. Luckily, many of them very quickly already know how to do many things using Google products because I've been training them. And other teachers, such as Mr. Kempen, who also uses Google Classroom, we've already been through the painful aspects of figuring out why this isn't working or something like that, right? And there's all kinds of little things that sometimes happen. So there is a modest learning curve, but that's already being solved. But why should you invest lots of time into perhaps fixing something that's not broken? Well, my first answer to that is because learning is iterative. There is, your students are hopefully building on their progress throughout the year, and so one of the really useful things that computers do is that they capture information over time. And we used to have to do that manually. Many of us still do. But if you have a well-configured system, I'm going to show you guys how to do it with just a couple taps on your smartphone. Then you're having computers talking to other computers and doing your work for you. Technology can provide a better historical record of teacher-student interactions, leads to thick description, student and educator effectiveness portfolios. So while I may only have to create a subset of 7 or 8 students per class for my educator effectiveness cycle, I could, because I've set things up, I have tons of evidence on all my students. And I could just give it all to you and say, here you go, have fun. Because the digital infrastructure makes better sense out of our increased digital learning footprint. And that's just sort of my fancy way of saying that we're already doing things online. We're already experimenting and dabbling. Now let's go to the next level and make some sense out of all the information that your students are producing by playing these games and doing these apps. That's the other side of it that they themselves don't see. They don't see what their activity looks like as information in a spreadsheet. But that's very useful to you. Number 3, because our school district licenses Google for Education products and buys lots of Chromebooks that are underused. They're getting more used now. But MPS, Milwaukee Public Schools, is probably paying, I have no idea how much, it's probably thousands or tens of thousands or who knows what, for unlimited storage in Google Drive, for the ability to use Google Classroom and its entire suite of services. And the reason why you can log into any Google login page with your MPS ID is probably because we pay them a lot of money. So why not we see what's all in there? Because it's like a sea of apps and tools. Perhaps some of it might completely alleviate your biggest pain point. Well, maybe not your biggest one, but it might be really cool. Because our students are paperless and mobile natives, and our classroom can adapt to that. What do I mean by paperless? You probably know what I mean by smartphone natives. They're really good at perhaps not doing the most productive things with their phones, but they can do things in ways that we can't because we're not just playing with our phones 8 hours a day. We have a job. But what do I mean by paperless? I mean they're literally paperless students. They hemorrhage papers everywhere they walk and go around the building. So I have, this is right here, this is a picture of the top of my cabinet. I call it the graveyard. This is where I just kind of, okay? This ends up turning into a mountain by the end of the year, although I'm asking students now to recycle notebooks from other students because it just gets out of hand. However, maybe it's also like this because I'm trying to become a paperless classroom and the mountain's getting a little smaller. What are the dynamics of paper in a high-poverty high school? Well, I'm making the assumption that we don't have the same problem, in the suburbs or something like that. But there probably is a connection, to the fact that, it is happening a lot at our school. So it doesn't help if we're having to, distribute papers, have them submitted, we collect them, we grade them, we return them. We're creating all kinds of opportunities for these papers to get lost. And so when that happens, there's no continuity and it becomes very difficult for us to see what's happening over time. Paper worksheets, multiple choice quizzes, and exit slips. Sometimes they can be mental exit slips. What if we wanted to give our students more complex, alternative, project-based assignments that can't be shaken off as easily? It's an interesting question for math. I don't know what you guys are doing in terms of longer-term projects. However, technology is really great for the purpose of collecting diverse files that are good at showing information that doesn't involve discrete point assessments. So we're talking about, audio files. I'm not sure, does anybody have an example of a type of assessment that's like an alternative assessment in math? Or is everything just kind of like number answers, just sort of something that you can just process with Scantron? No, everything is still very discrete in terms of what students hand to you guys. So maybe you just want to use, that for most of. But let's say we do identify something next month that is sort of, goes beyond a single worksheet and might involve the need for a portfolio folder. Let's compare how that would be done in the physical world versus, with Google for Education. So, does anybody use portfolios? No, because it's math. Good for you. Let's imagine all the pitfalls of creating a student-led physical filing system in our school. Students misplace their evidence or someone else's. Folders are rotated out of alphabetical order. Information is easily copied, vandalized, or stolen. Okay, it requires constant teacher maintenance to ensure the integrity of the filing system. Let's talk about smartphones in the classroom for a minute. What are your guys' policies with respect to smartphones? Is anybody just saying, I'm going to go the Dr. Mohammed route and let's embrace phones? Let's try to find things for the kids to do on their phones.
I mean, particularly with my 7th hour class, which is my mobile app development class,
Sure.
I do have the students, especially those with Android devices, testing their apps.
Anyone else?
I think I'm more in the middle. Like I want to,
Yeah.
but I think my first hour can handle it, and they're trustworthy. Like I don't know if there's a bigger class, but
Yeah.
I know that's just a simple task. That's not technically what the smartphone is for, but okay, take out your phone and use it, and I can trust them with that. Third hour is a totally different story. I can't trust them
Sure.
with their phones because they're not paying attention and stuff like that. I mean, I'd like to better engage them through the cell phone. But again, it's that maturity level for that one class that I don't know for that.
Okay. Well, I believe that there is hope at our school for embracing any device that might get used, whether it's a Chromebook that we give them or whether it's a smartphone that they bring to the class. If we set up the right infrastructure for it, we could have everything be fed into our system. And one of the things that I'm doing in my class is I'm saying, okay, fine, you won't get off Snapchat? All right, so I'm going to have you and your friend say something to each other in French and put it on Snapchat. And then tag everybody so that everybody can see it. So that way, at least if they're going to do something silly, at least tie it into French. You know, so I'm trying to think of ways of doing that. And so, you know, basically the idea is that, you know, if we are to disrupt their habits in how they use their screen time, our system is going to need to mimic some of the same psychological dynamics. Whether it's, you know, that their use of these devices is, you know, addictive, persistent, ubiquitous, scattered throughout the day. I'm trying to find out ways to do that as well and mimic that similar dynamic. Our Wi-Fi connected Chromebooks, more so than PC laptops, can be used like giant smartphones for those students who can't afford capable ones with generous data plans. Plus the Chromebooks connect to our awesome new Wi-Fi network. Until we figure out how to truly invade their smartphones with learning opportunities, our best bet is the Chromebook, which is less toy-like. So it's somewhere in the middle. And you know, we're going to be getting more of them. Ms. Carthen definitely is making that one of her goals so that we can be up to par with the one-to-one standard of having one Chromebook per student.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you know, are Chromebooks possible to be touch?
Yes, they are.
You know,
These
that's-
aren't.
Yeah, I know these aren't. but-
Ms. Schoonover bought one like that for her daughter. If I may share that.
That was like because we had a Google Classroom for my AP Stats class, and I find it difficult in math. Like the typing, they can type out the explanations and stuff like that, but some of the stuff, the more mathy stuff, or the calculations or something like that, I just think it's a pain in the butt if you have to use that equation editor to show your work, or if you have to make some sort of model with a graph or a chart. I'm not even sure how you would even go about that aspect yet.
I wonder if there's a thing where you could take a picture of it on a chalkboard and maybe it would recognize it.
You can take pictures, but that's a little goofy on how you do that.
Yeah.
And save them to the thing. You can do that.
Well, that's a perfect segue for our next session, is I will research that.
Okay.
Second thing, and I'm
Yeah.
going to throw this in, this is more of a CTE app than a math app, is
Yeah.
looking at Python.
We have CTE people here. Okay.
Yes. Looking at Python, one of my other courses, Intro Python, for the Chrome OS, and kind of looking up where things actually stand on whether Chrome is available on a Chromebook, or whether Python is available on a Chromebook, I'm sorry.
What about Python? The programming language.
Basically, the Python compiler for Python idle for
Okay.
version 3.3.
Okay.
I just want to add, I have seen some of the touchscreen Chromebooks at Reagan, so they exist and they are in MPS. If Ms. Carthen is looking to order a few more, maybe we specify, could you please order these? I'm sure they're a little pricier.
I'm sure.
To specifically use with your AP Stats class could be a real.
I think just for any math class, I think, unless, I don't know. That could be, that's just me being old maybe too, I just don't see.
No, there's one of my mentees, and I've observed his class. He uses a little different program, but that Nearpod that I was telling you about. And you can see the difference in what the kids are doing for those that can just simply write on their screen versus now I have to type everything in. There's a big difference in just being comfortable with that, the time it takes, what they can put on that screen. It does make a big difference.
Yeah. And how much time you want to invest in these technologies is at your discretion, but I would recommend doing it for the ones that will yield one. Mr. Kevin, to answer your question, I don't know specifically about that, but have you tried like various add-ons for the Chrome browser?
I haven't had any attempt at that.
Yeah.
From what I'm looking at right now, it seems like a lot of the Chrome add-ons are Python 2.7 as opposed to 3.3. I know there's a site called Sculpt, which is able to work for the most part on Python version 3. There's a couple of things that need to be tweaked, but that's...
But it's a matter of time, right? I mean, these things emerge in the, wherever, whether it's in the Google Play Store or, in the Chrome store, I think it's called. So, smartphones, back to that. Whether you love them or hate them, if you're going to work with them, it helps to have the infrastructure in place to collect whatever data students are going to feed into the mobile app. We now have 9 Chromebooks and counting. Computer labs are shared, making daily access for everyone nearly impossible. So a lot of what I'm going to show you isn't going to be so easy to implement immediately. Chromebooks in the class make the daily use of tech more embedded and casual. That's what we're going for here. Going to a lab once or twice a week feels more like a field trip, and students are more likely to blow it off. Whereas the Chromebooks are portable and light. Anyway, I don't have to sell you guys on that. It's becoming the new trend. So here's a couple things that you guys can do today. Probably most people don't know about it. I don't know. Log into drive.google.com and instantly access unlimited storage. Maybe you don't have a million things to store today, but you want to accumulate data for your student portfolios this year, next year, never delete it. You'll go back and you'll have information on students from 10 years ago because it's unlimited storage. Access templates useful to educators. So if you go into Drive right away, you're going to see exit tickets, assessments, worksheets, and these are not just templates for printing purposes. You'll have students do these on Chromebooks, and then all that information that gets typed in lands neatly into a spreadsheet. The Google Play for Educators store. Access apps that the general public doesn't have access to because we're one of Google's clients at MPS. You can search by theme, by keyword, and there's some apps that have been downloaded hundreds of thousands of times that are insanely popular with teachers that might be great for you. Here's an example of what it looks like when I've created a quiz and all the students have answered it. I've got their first name, their last name, S number, timestamp, and all their answers. Then I can apply different formulas to it if I want to play around with that data. Here's an example, more applicable to English or to me, where if we have them write essays, boom. This is a view of Google Classroom. So here they've submitted essays to me, And I go in there and there's the view so that I can click into any single one. And then I can go in and actually embed feedback right into it. So we're constantly doing this back and forth digitally. Each time I do something, they get an email notification. Each time they have a question or whatever, I get notified. So, you know, it helps me when I see someone really needing help. You know, they're not only raising their hand, they're emailing me. And then Kahoot, the big new app that's taking you know, teachers by storm. You guys use Kahoot? Anybody? Okay. Kahoot is an interactive game quiz app. So you know, you set up your quiz, and then everyone's Chromebook becomes like a button. So you know, A, B, C, D is a different color, and you click on the right answer choice, and the quicker you do it, the more points you get. It's insanely addictive. You know, when Ms. Yudovich observed me, you know, I probably had 22 students like feverishly playing the game, which I can't get 22 students to do anything in my class. But this time they were all doing the same thing. It was amazing, and that's, you know, because, you know, these app makers, this is what they do. Their business is to try to get you addicted. But there's an extra button there that most teachers don't know about it. You click on it, and it saves the results of the quiz right into a Google Sheet in Drive. And it looks like this. I never set up the spreadsheet. I didn't create these formulas that show me the percentage of correct answers, incorrect answers, average score, highlights the right and the wrong questions.
Make that bigger.
I'll email it to you.
Okay, I just want to see what it says.
Well, we've got correct answers, incorrect answers, their point score, and then what they answered for each question.
Okay.
So, I mean,
That's multiple choice, right? It's not like a filling up.
right, it's multiple choice. So if you wanted to make that one way that you track student progress over time, you know, do one Kahoot quiz a week, and then, you know, you'll have these, you know, you'll view these by week, and you can, maybe, you could probably even have spreadsheets communicating to other spreadsheets, so that you could, you know, look at it longitudinally.
And is that an app for under Google, or is that just something separate?
This is one of Google's core products. This is like Microsoft Excel. It's called Google Sheets.
I know Google Sheets, but how does that information from Kahoot get uploaded in Google Sheets?
Oh, because Kahoot is probably under the Google developer ecosystem, so it's probably just one of the standards. It's like, you know, just automatically create, you know.
So if I just made a little quiz or whatever, I would automatically get that, save the results to.
Yeah, and actually, even if you go onto Kahoot at a later time, if you look at recent results, there's a save results to Google Drive, download results, play again in ghost mode.
And because this is a developer ecosystem and a culture of collaboration, you're going to find many apps that do these sort of turnkey, you know, pass the data back to Google Drive. One limitation right now, you know, Infinite Campus is not a part of the Google developer ecosystem, so you're always still going to need to enter your grades into Infinite Campus. Just beware of that. However, if you do things right, you're still going to have tons of data. And that's one of the things we're getting paid to do, right? Well, our job just became a little bit easier then, because collecting data and all that is just so painful. Here's a totally different kind of piece of information we might want to collect on students. Here, we're using a Google form, and instead of setting it up so that each question is like a quiz question, I'm putting a student's name that I'm tracking for behavior purposes. And then for the answer choice, that's a short paragraph. So Google Forms works, you know, there's a mobile version of Google Forms. And whenever I want to log a student's misbehavior, I just pull out my phone, tap a couple of buttons, and I'm voice transcribing notes into that student item name, and then once again, I end up with a spreadsheet of time-stamped behavioral items. And that's one of my favorite ones, because now no administrator can go to me and say, well, have you been documenting their behavior? last semester, you know, what's the trend here? I can't see the big picture. Well, now we can create big pictures easily, and it's fun to sometimes, you know, hover behind them and just kind of whisper into the phone. It really freaks them out. So that in itself can you know, influence their behavior. This is my favorite. I'm using, I got an Android watch because, again, I'm thinking about what are different ways that I can keep, you know, feeding information into Drive and into their portfolio folders. Well, one of the things I do is, you know, I'm teaching Spanish and French, and they have to converse with me in Spanish and French. So occasionally we go out into the hallway, and I give them a test, you know, with questions that they've been studying. And so, you know, while we're talking, you know, we're both talking into the microphone in my watch, and then tap a button, it gets sent over to their portfolio folder. So I have, I could easily do it on every, you know, on all 175 students that I have, but right now I'm doing a subset, you know, because it's still work. Let's see if I have it here. You know, so I go into one of the folders and so I'm asking Shania questions in Spanish, and she's answering me in Spanish, and it's like a 3-minute long clip. And that's just like a particularly nice thing to have in a portfolio, especially if you're aiming to have, you know, diverse artifacts in a portfolio. Yeah, so again, I don't know, you know, what types of artifacts and you know, and various standards you guys are working on, and I'm hoping that you guys can share that a little bit with me, so that during our next session I can identify, you know, what might be useful inside the Google, you know, ecosystem. What might be useful for you guys, and maybe if I do my homework, I'll find something we can look at more closely next month. Does anybody have anything they want to share right now? That, you know, maybe it's a particular pain point, or something that they would like to see technology address that they haven't tried before.
I'm gonna look. I gotta meet someone either next week or after spring break about it's, I think, the smart amp app.
Smart amp
I
app.
think it's like the smart notebook, but I think it's more for touchscreen.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing but I think that also what I've struggled with is trying to write comments on people's papers, where I prefer to write, like, make arrows and make all these different things and circle stuff, whereas
Yeah.
I thought when I'm just typing stuff and I gotta move it around to the right spot, and then I might run out of room and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find something where I can make it more where I'm writing on it and stuff like that versus type comments into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might be able to help. I don't know, I have to look at it yet.
Yeah, I'll definitely follow up with you on that. I'm interested in the CTE folks. What are you guys working on? You know, what kinds of evidence are CTE students being expected to produce?
Looking from my perspective, and I think I'm the one CTE person.
You, okay.
I know one of the things in terms of Google Classroom is
Career technology education,
Right.
CTE, okay.
So, for example, I have students working on Python programs,
Okay.
as well as doing other types of Google document
Mm-hmm.
pieces related to the math curriculum. Just trying to think of some of the things I have with the system. I know
Yeah.
with the Project Lead the Way courses, we have a specific learning management system.
Yeah.
And programs that run off of computers in that specific lab.
Math
So-
specific.
Right.
So producing websites is
I know that's certainly one of the things that's coming up with the web design course that this work is teaching.
okay.
They're looking at using Dreamweaver to create templates and sites as part of it.
What about robotics? Are you still doing that?
That's an extracurricular piece.
Okay. Because obviously, you know, like taking video of what the robot can do becomes a piece of evidence, you know. As far as websites go, I'm actually having my students create personal websites using Google Sites, but it's an activity geared to get them to express themselves in Spanish or French so that their pen pals can see a little bit about the context of their world. So Google Sites makes it so that you don't need to know how to code. So that's not relevant for you guys since you guys are making websites from scratch. So anyway, that's your homework assignment is think of one learning activity that you're getting a little tired of. And I'll send the first email just to remind you. Then just think of one learning activity, just type a paragraph or whatever, let me know what that is. And I'll see, or together we'll see how we can reinterpret it using Google for Education in conjunction with any other good technologies. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
I just had one, and I don't know if you can answer it, but I guess where is the commitment from MPS going to be toward Google or the Microsoft Office? Because right now it seems like they're split.
Well, what it seems like to me is that, we probably are just paying both for who knows how long, and I don't know, I'm completely, separate from those types of decisions.
Yeah.
Maybe the way they view it is, both of them offer different advantages, so let's have both of them.
Okay.
Even though I personally see that as a, perhaps not the most efficient use of money,
Yeah.
because I'm sure it's a lot of money that we're paying to both Microsoft and Google, and they both compete with each other, except that personally, I don't see Microsoft doing much at all with education,
Yeah.
in terms of what we can use immediately every day, just like convenience type apps. So, I don't think we're gonna end our relationship with Google. I think that, especially if we're buying lots of Chromebooks, maybe there's some kind of deal where they're leasing the Chromebooks and it comes bundled with the license to use the software, all for one big price. That's probably how those things work. So, Google just invested several $100 million, I believe. Maybe it was just $75 million in Duolingo. They're being really aggressive with anything that has to do with education. So I'm willing to wager that we're not going to end. Schools aren't going to be ending their relationship with Google anytime soon. So awesome. Well, it's 2:53. So if you guys don't have any other questions, I guess you can go back to your classes, or I don't know.
I'm gonna try something actually.
Yeah.
Question, you said at the beginning that you were trained to do something with Google. Can you tell us more about that?
Oh, sure. Google offers a training program for educators to become Google certified educators. And it's free. You just go type in Google educator training. And then I think it's the second link. And you click level 1 certification, because there's 2 levels. And then there's 12 or 13 modules, and each one is a different theme. And you just do little quizzes and absorb new information. And then when you're done with that whole thing, and it's taking me a while, just because I'm doing a little bit at a time, then I pay I don't know how much it is, less than $100 for the test. What's up?
I think I got this, amazingly enough, I was able to get the AI companion to work between the Chromebook and my phone.
Okay. Yeah, so once I take the test, I will be level 1 Google certified, and I'll be your go-to guy for any questions about Google, most likely. And then eventually, I hope to be an official trainer. So,
Do you know what kind of things they cover on that, or not? You haven't got that far?
for training.
For that Google certified teacher?
Yeah, they cover, basically, it goes into detail. So they want you to learn the ins and outs of all their software. So it's like they ask very technical questions. Not hard, it's just kind of they force you to focus on the ins and outs of their products, but then also like there's one module on like creating digitally responsible citizens, and learning how to learning how to use advanced search features of Google, learning how to how to create group emails for your students or for their parents, and I mean there's just so much to it. So that's why there's probably that's why there's a level 2 as well.
Okay.
But yeah, level 1 is in and of itself is plenty for now. So yeah, so if you guys have any questions and you guys want to start working on stuff right away, feel free to email me and I can pop into your class during my prep or something like that as well. So thanks guys.
Thank you.